Okay, first thing to say in this video, if you don't know who Greg Koch is, definitely go check him out. Just monster guitar player. Seems to have like an endless library of licks. He's always playing crazy stuff. If you get the chance to see him live, killer live. I want to talk about something that he definitely didn't invent, but for me, he was the first person that I sort of saw talking about it. Maybe on one of his instructional videos or something like that, which is playing a minor pentatonic a third up from the chord that you're playing over. So often in this scenario, you'll be talking about a dominant 7, so let's say A7. So we'd be playing C minor pentatonic over that A7. Now, I don't want to make this a theory video, but basically the reason that works is you're implying A altered. So A altered would be the 7th mode of B melodic minor. The second chord in B melodic minor harmonized would be C minor. So you can play a C minor 7 over an A7 and you're implying A altered. Now, when I first saw him talking about this, I thought, brilliant, that's super easy. Don't need to learn the whole scale. Already know my pentatonic, so no problem. It's actually pretty difficult, I think, for two reasons. So the first one being, if you look at the notes that gives you, over your root chord, so you'd end up with minor third, flat 5, flat 6, flat 7 and flat 9. So there's no root note in it at all, so it's not going to resolve itself within the scale. So you've got to be very conscious of what you're playing over and then how to get back to that home chord or wherever it's going to be resolving to. The second, which is probably like a wider point about playing outside and some of these more advanced concepts. The reason it's so difficult, I think, is it's not anything to do with technique. This is what I've realised. Nothing to do with your technique. If you've already got your pentatonics down, you know what you're doing. It's that your ear's just not attuned to those sounds. So to give you an example, if you ask any sort of mediumly accomplished guitarist, play a minor pentatonic lick, I knew exactly what I was going to sound like before I even played it, and a lot of people would be the same, just because that sound is so ingrained into my brain. Like, I've played that a gazillion times. I knew exactly what it was going to sound like before I even played it. When you start getting into these other scales, you don't, and it's unusual, and your ear is just not attuned to how things sound, so you can kind of get lost, and it's difficult to get back to where you started. I don't think there's any magic answer to that other than just practice. You just got to get used to it, get a backing track and just mess about and just get used to what different intervals sound like, and the most important thing is how to resolve it. I think the kind of weirder and more out there you get with the playing, the nicer the resolution has got to be for it to kind of make sense. The other thing is probably, where do you put the licks? You can play whatever you want, wherever you want, essentially, but I think one quite nice way of doing it is just divide whatever you're playing into sections of 4. It doesn't necessarily have to be 4 bars, but you could have, say, 3 inside licks and then 1 outside lick, 3 inside licks, 1 outside lick. That's just a kind of nice little format that will make sense. Most of the stuff you're going to be playing over is in 4/4 anyway. Guys like Oz Noy will often start a solo with an outside phrase. But that's kind of more advanced stuff, and you've got to know what you're doing. So I think when you first get to it, just having that structure, this is for practice as well. You wouldn't necessarily use this stuff that often in an actual solo or an actual gig, because if you start playing it too much, it just sounds a bit wrong. So I've got a cool backing track, which I'll link in the description. I'm going to put 1 lick up with tabs. The reason I'm not going to do loads is, as I've explained, it's not really a licks thing. It's getting your ear used to it. The one thing you will notice is you can't bash out like a normal C minor pentatonic lick over A7 like your normal blues lick, because it will just sound odd. You've got to be more conscious of what you're playing over and deliberately thinking about how to get back to the original chord and resolve it. It's not easy, but it's a cool thing once you get it down. Right, so that's the lick, right? Resolves really nicely because you hit back on that A on the downbeat. You're basically just going down that C minor pentatonic shape. So one thing you do know as well, the pentatonic shapes are relative to whatever chord you're playing over, right? I think the other thing as well is try and make the licks as rhythmically interesting as possible. Really helps with the phrasing. But you probably see what I mean if you just try and throw in like a C minor pentatonic blues lick. Sounds alright, but there'll be certain things. Obviously, you're trying to play outside, so you're kind of after some wrong notes, but it's kind of good wrong and bad wrong. Like I said, the only way really is just practice. You've got to get used to playing over those chords, used to what the different intervals sound like. And the main thing again is used to resolving it back to whatever you're playing over. So yeah, I'll put the backing track as a link in the description. See you next time.